Unlucky Steam key scammer calls electronics, gets the dumbest employee in the world. When I worked at Walmart, I went from cart pusher to cashier electronics security. Sometimes after I switched to security, when electronics was really swamped, I'd help out for a few minutes. One day, the phone was ringing, and I was walking by and randomly answered it. Sir Scamlet, hello, sir. This is Steam Support Services with Valve. Instantly, of course, I know this is a scam. I adore Valve, and played so many of their games too. I can't believe my luck. Of all the calls to answer, surprisingly he didn't have some weird accent. Me, what can I do for you? Sir Scamlet, we've had reports that game key shipped to your location may have an error that prevents it from authenticating, specifically the game Counter-Strike. We need to validate your game keys to see if you're affected. I forget which CS was on sale then. This was 2008. Me, what do I do? As if I didn't know. Sir Scamlet, well I just need you to open any copies of the game you have and read me the CD key on the instruction manual so I can verify them with our validation software. Or on the jewel case. I don't remember that either. Me, sure thing. Can I put you on hold for a minute while I get those? Sir Scamlet, obviously happy sure. So I put Sir Scamlet on hold while I called all the other area stores electronics department and warned them about the scammer and confirmed nobody had taken a call like this earlier. About 15 minutes later, I get back to Scamlet. Me, thanks for holding, but I can't find any CD keys. I looked all through the book and the packages. Sir Scamlet, annoyed, well sir, just open any copy of Counter-Strike and under. Me, Counter-Strike. I thought you said Counting Strikes, that bowling game. Okay, hold on. Everyone in the department is listening, and we all laugh. 10 minutes later, I'm back on the line. Me, okay, I got what you're looking for. What do you need? Now I make him walk me through how to open the box, including interrogating him for 5 minutes about how to do it without breaking the seal, then pretend I can't find the book, etc etc. Finally, I'm ready to read the code. First, I read him the UPC. This upsets him. Then I read him a part number from something. Now he's livid. Finally, I ask if he means the code on the book that says game key and has like groups of 4 digits with dashes, like he said probably 50 times already, and he gets excited again. Oh, okay, here's the game key. Me, okay, F, like Frank. U, like uncle. C, like cat. Sir Scamlet, sir, I don't think that's right. Normally a code would. Me, no, it's F, U, C, then K like kite. Next 4 is Y like yesterday, O like owl, and he swore at me and hung up. I just bombed our previous dog walkers on every review site I can find their name on. Our neighbor came to us and said she had something she needed to tell us. She looked really nervous and was apologizing for getting involved and sticking her nose in. We calmed her down and got her to explain that our dog walker was only letting our dog out into our front garden for about 10 minutes and then taking off without a care in the world. Obviously I didn't want to trust this on face value, so we got one of those smart cameras that alerts when someone comes into the house. Day 1, Rupert's let out for 10 minutes, exactly as our neighbor said. I asked the dog walker's wife, they operated as a couple, how long he'd been out. About an hour. HMM. Later that week, he was out for 20 minutes. In comes a message later. Rupert's been out for a walk and then came back to us for a play in the garden. What? The house of yours that's a 15+ minute drive away. So he went for a walk, was driven about 15 minutes to your house, played in the garden, was then driven back all in 20 minutes? Impressive. I'd seen enough, so I asked them to clarify this. I was upfront about the camera and explained our neighbor's concerns. I didn't get aggressive and was honestly hoping I was mistaken somehow. Instead I got a defensive rant that accused me and my neighbor of spying on them by having a camera in my own home. Yeah, alright, and dared to insinuate that I misunderstood our original agreement. They then cancelled on the spot and returned the keys the next day. Fuck these crooks. We paid them good money for them to lie, and then they have the nerve to moralize to me when they are caught out. The fact that it was at the expense of our little dog makes me furious. They have barely any reviews, none on some review pages, so bombing their pages with my feedback feels so good in a petty way. They deserve it. Shitty server demands a better tip. A couple months back, my boyfriend and I went out for drinks one night at this cool little speakeasy in Montreal. It's actually quite an interesting place. You come in through a nondescript entrance and the place has a really nice vibe going on once you get inside. Note, this is one of those bars where the server comes to your table and serves the drinks, rather than one where you order at the bar and take the drinks back yourself. We were seated at our table by the server. We ordered a couple cocktails, and then a couple more, and then a couple more after that. Each time we had to order, my boyfriend or I would have to go fetch the server, so he would take our order, or go up to the bar, order, and then bring the drinks back ourselves. Then, when it came time for the bill, I went up again, so he would come to our table. He came and thought we were going to order again despite me clearly asking for the bill when I went up. So, he went back to get the card machine, and it was another 10 minutes before he was back. At this point, I was quite ticked off at the not so great service and was debating whether or not I should tip him. The screen had an option for 10%, 15%, 20% or other. I decided to just leave 10% as I wanted to avoid an argument with the server. Montreal service employees are pretty damn notorious when it comes to the expectation of tips. Now, he prints out the receipt and takes a look at it and sees our left 10%. He then asks if we had a nice evening, to which my boyfriend responded that we did. We both thought it was just a standard question servers ask, so we didn't bother telling him about the poor service received, especially because it wouldn't really make a difference at this point. The guy then says, "Oh, well, if you had such a nice time, then you should have left at least a 15% tip. Because, in Canada, it's customary to leave minimum 15% when the service is good." I'm guessing the reason he felt the need to outline that's how it is in Canada is because I'm a brown guy. Now comes the petty part. I responded, "Oh, I didn't know. Why don't you cancel this bill and redo it so I can tip you properly?" He said, "Sure thing. Just give me a second," because the manager has to approve bill cancellations. Again, we waited a good 10 minutes for him to come back with the new bill. I was happy to wait, though, because once he came back, I put in the PIN and then selected the other option for tip and left him 0%. He printed out the receipt and his look of disbelief was well worth it. We got up and my white Canadian boyfriend said, "Our only tip for you is to give better service and not be so much of an asshole. In Canada, we don't really like assholes." Take my parking spot. What goes around comes around. This may be the pettiest thing I have ever done. So in my city there is a pub that's attached to a donut shop that serves the best donuts in the city, which always causes a long line. Because it's attached to a pub, it doesn't close shop until 9 PM as there is a solid flow of business rolling in. Anyway, my girlfriend and I get a serious hankering for some snacks, so we decide to head to the donut shop and arrive out around 8:30 PM by car. Now, there are only 3 parallel parking spots a little up the street from the place, and they are all 15-minute spots which are usually full. We see up the street that, count our lucky stars, a spot is free. My girlfriend pulls a little ahead of the car in front of the spot, turns on her indicator, and begins backing into parking spot when this little white Vespa driving behind us whips into the spot. I roll down our window and call out to the driver, "Excuse me, we were just backing in." The driver seems to be a pretty univ student who shrugs her shoulders and calls out to me, "Sorry, first come first serve," while her and her friend share a good laugh. My girlfriend suggests we just get donuts another time, and I tell her she can drop me off here. I'll buy the donuts, since I know what she likes, and she can loop around. She agrees, and I pop out of the car, past the little white Vespa where the girls are still gathering their things, and head to the shop. As always, the line is super long for donuts, and since this is the last batch, the donuts are slim pickings. The girls are behind me looking at the 5 or so different flavors that are left, talking about which ones are best and which they haven't had yet. I hear one of them jokingly mention, "Thank God we got a parking spot," and they burst out laughing. I get to the front of the line, and when asked for my order, request 2 dozen donuts, which is every last one remaining. The girls behind me didn't listen to what I ordered, but eyebrows of confusion started to form on their faces and they slowly saw each donut loaded into the boxes and their options dwindle. One of them, the driver, in desperation asked the baker who was loading them, "And what, you're not even gonna save a few for us though?" To which I turned around and said, "Sorry, first come first serve." She honestly looked like she just simultaneously solved a movie mystery and shit her pants. It's difficult to put into words, but truly an expression I can never forget. Best donuts I ever tasted, and enjoyed by the rest of my office the next morning.